For years, I thought the people around me were the problem, until I discovered the truth about myself. I had always felt like the people around me just didn't understand me. My friends, family, even colleagues seemed to constantly overreact to things I said or did. I chalked it up to being misunderstood, to being different, maybe even to being smarter than the average person. But the truth I would eventually discover was far darker and more complicated than I ever imagined. Things started to go downhill a few years ago. I began losing friends one by one. They would say things like, "You're too much," or "I can't handle you anymore." I thought they were the ones with the issues. Maybe they were jealous or couldn't handle my honesty. I also noticed people at work would avoid me, even though I was good at my job. I always spoke my mind, and I assumed people just couldn't deal with the truth. The strange part was, my life outside of relationships started to suffer too. I had trouble keeping track of things. My emotions swung from extreme highs to debilitating lows, and I had this nagging feeling that people were hiding something from me. I began to believe that the world was against me. One day, my family staged an intervention. They claimed I had become unstable, that my behavior was erratic, and that I needed help. I was furious. How could they accuse me of being the problem when they were the ones abandoning me? I stormed out of the house, convinced they were conspiring against me, trying to manipulate me into thinking something was wrong. But then, something strange happened. A few weeks later, I was involved in an incident at work. I had a confrontation with a coworker and accused them of things they claimed never happened. My boss suggested I see a therapist for stress. I reluctantly agreed, thinking it would be a waste of time. At first, the sessions felt pointless. I told the therapist everything I thought was wrong with the people around me, how they were irrational, sensitive, and unreasonable. But as we delved deeper, cracks began to show. The therapist asked me to start documenting my experiences. I began keeping a journal of interactions, conversations, and my emotional states. That's when things started to shift. When I look back at my journal after a few months, something didn't make sense. Events I had written about were missing crucial details or didn't match up with what others remembered. I began noticing that I would write about conversations that never actually took place or describe situations far more intensely than they really were. I realized I had been twisting reality in ways I hadn't understood. The more I dug, the more I uncovered the terrifying truth. I wasn't the victim of everyone else's misunderstandings. I was the one who had been misinterpreting everything. My mind had been creating alternate versions of reality, and I didn't even know it. I was experiencing delusions and paranoia, warping the way I saw the world and the people in it. The truth was, I had been suffering from a mental illness all along. My therapist diagnosed me with bipolar disorder, and alongside it, I had symptoms of paranoid delusions. I had been misreading people's actions, exaggerating situations in my mind, and emotionally reacting to things that weren't even real. The diagnosis was like a gut punch, but it also came with relief. Suddenly, everything made sense. The lost friendships, the accusations, the emotional outbursts. It wasn't that the world was against me. It was that my mind had been playing tricks on me for years. Now, I'm learning to live with the truth about my mental health. It's not easy, but knowing the problem exists is the first step to healing. I've started treatment, and I'm working to rebuild my relationships and my life. It turns out the hardest truth to face was the one about myself. Have you ever faced a truth about yourself that changed everything? Share your story in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe for more personal revelations and journeys of self-discovery. Together, we can break the stigma around mental health.